I'm Courtney Bjorlin. Welcome back to our coverage of the ASUG SAP Business Objects User Conference. We're coming to you live from the show floor in Orlando, and we're starting to wrap up our coverage. We've got a great last team of folks up here to send us home. We've got Charles Gadalla from SAP. He is a Director of Solution Management. And we've got Sandy Brotje. She's a ASUG volunteer extraordinaire. We're going to talk to us about predictive analytics and a little bit about dashboarding. Thank you so much for joining me up here.
Thanks for having us, Courtney.
So tell us a little bit about the predictive story. I started out by asking you about SPSS. That's how far back in the story I am.
Right.
Well, what's new here?
SAP has built our own predictive workbench now. It's not called a predictive workbench anymore. So instead of OEMing another party like SPSS, we have our own homegrown predictive analytics toolbox. It's called SAP Predictive Analysis. It fits on top of HANA, so we're able to fit all the data that we want from HANA and use the speed of HANA to do phenomenal speeds of analysis. Stuff that's taking SAS or SAS and SPSS 72 hours to do, we're doing it in 90 seconds. So we have a real big advantage now. But it doesn't just use HANA. We can use any relational database or business objects universes, whatever we want. But that's a really good story to have together with the HANA story.
So for the non-SAP back-end customers, what's the story for predictive for them if they don't want to buy HANA?
Of course. So if they already have a relational database, whichever one they're choosing, they can, of course, put that into a universe. We'll pull it off the universe as a table. We'll run the predictive analysis for them there and write back the results in that table. Webby, Crystal reports, Excelsius dashboards. We'll pull it off there, and then they can always have a full display from that.
For those of our audience listening that don't really know what they would use the predictive tool for and who the user set would be, go into a little bit of that for me.
It's the famous beer and diapers example. I don't know if you've heard of this one. The Walmart beer and diapers, where they had correlation analysis done on what people are buying. And they found that when people were buying diapers, they were buying beer. And they couldn't figure it out. Like, why are they buying beer and diapers at the same time? And it turns out that the story goes, the wife would call the husband at work. It's a Friday night. He had made plans to go out with his buddies after work to go to the bar. She'd call up and said, "You got to get diapers, come home quick." He goes home quick with the diapers, goes, "I'll go to Walmart, pick it up," buys the diapers. As he's walking out, goes, "Well, since I'm not going out with my friends," goes and buys a six-pack of beer. So that kind of non-intuitive stuff that you wouldn't have thought of, where BI is a directed analysis, you're asking a question to get an answer. You do this one, you don't know the question you're trying to ask, and it's coming up with interesting ideas for you. That's the difference.
Okay, so it's actually going to change the way that a store like Walmart is positioning products or maybe offering discounts.
Exactly so.
Putting coupons for the diapers in the beer.
You got it.
Okay.
And things like Target, which they got into trouble just a while back, sending a young lady some stuff for pregnancy tests and stuff like that because she'd been buying iron supplements and this kind of stuff. Our poor father didn't have a clue. There was a little bit of hot water. So yeah, but that kind of stuff, you match up coupons. Retailers love it. Telcos love it because they can find people who are just about to leave the company and switch to a different carrier. But if they could catch them because they'd noticed they were dropping calls, calling into the call center, that kind of stuff, they could save them before they leave, right? So telco loves it. Bank for fraud detection. Insurance companies for finding people who are scamming them, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of applications.
It's a really interesting story, and I've talked to a couple of customers here who are definitely interested in getting into the predictive. A couple years ago it was really far out. Now it just seems like it's finally coming into the, not mainstream, but
I think it's the power of HANA, Courtney. I think the bottom line is we now have the ability to go through billions of rows of data and find those nuggets, whereas before it was compute intensive and you'd have to have big racks of servers. Now you got a HANA box, you've already used it for other stuff for analysis. You throw this predictive analysis on top and you're popping out a result in 90 seconds. 72 hours, 90 seconds, right? So there's a good story here.
Yeah, very interesting stuff, Charles. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sandy, let's jump to dashboarding a little bit here. You are relatively new on the Dashboarding Influence Council, right?
Yes.
All right,
yes.
So tell us a little bit about what you've got planned for the coming year.
Okay, well, my role is a customer chair, and we're trying to position ourselves so that we can help SAP figure out what we need next, and it's coming up in the next service releases. So if you use any kind of the dashboarding tools, you want to get involved so that you can say, okay, the next thing we need are these features. And because mobile is becoming so prevalent and so important, there's a service pack that's coming out at the end of the year. This is kind of a little bit of the roadmap here too. It's coming out at the end of the year, and they already know what's going to go in that service pack. But the next one's coming out sometime next year, and because of the way all the customers want to go to mobile, they need to know what we need in there first. So and my role is to help facilitate the meetings and help facilitate all the customers to try to let SAP know in a clear and concise way what we're interested in.
Right. The Influence Council story is really so interesting because you can get involved in changing these products and making sure that they're what you need.
It's very cool. You don't have to be the biggest customer around. You just have to be interested and engaged. And when you start talking about things, other customers have a tendency to say, oh, you know what? That is really what we need. And I didn't think of that, or I didn't know I could say that. But since somebody else has started bringing it up, I want to get involved too, and I want to make sure that SAP knows.
Now, for the dashboarding piece, obviously a big demand and a big story here has been, when are we going to be able to get it on this?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with the story SAP is telling? Give us your impressions of the roadmap and if it's kind of getting there quick enough for you.
Well, I think it is, because I work at the Cleveland Clinic, and we haven't quite figured out yet how and what we want to put on dashboards. I mean, on mobile devices. So we're still kind of experimenting. So the path I see is good.
Okay.
We're going to be able to put some Excelsius dashboards on mobile devices by the end of the year, which is probably faster than we need it. So I think that's good, because I can see where you need to start positioning yourself and what you need to do with the tool to get there. And then next year, there'll even be more that we can do on the mobile, and coincidentally, that's what the Influence Council will be working on also. So we're going to be
Great.
coming together with that.
Big focus on mobile for the
Big
Influence
focus on
Council.
mobile. Mhm.
Okay. All right. Anything particularly at the show that you've heard coming up over and over again from your peers?
Well, I think it's really the components, the different parts of Excelsius that you need to be able to do. Like in our particular case, we use a lot of prompts, and so they're working on making that better.
Okay.
And so the experience that the user will have when they are choosing what they want to look at on their dashboard, that's going to get better next year. So that's real important to us.
Great. Well, great talking to you both, and always great having you in the studio. Sandy was on stage last night for the Developer Wars, which was great. She's already a star.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us, and you can catch all of our coverage on asugonline.com. These videos will also all be available on our YouTube channel. That's ASUG TV. Thanks for watching.